They done messed around and made it what? It was just gonna be a good game.
And made this shit personal.
They done messed around and made it personal.
Now it's
Impose our will because the whole theme of the week was it's personal.
It's our house, man. Look around.
Don't lose it, huh?
Ain't nobody whooping us at the crib. You know why?
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just talking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out.
Hey, before we start the show, I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, share the video with a friend. This is Base Coverage, and we talk European League of Football.
Yeah, you heard the man. You heard Coach Prime. It's personal. That's what week 2 is all about. Thank you all for tuning in and coming back. Subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. I appreciate all your support. We're in week 2 of the ELF, and God damn it, you heard the man. It's personal. It's personal this week. We got a lot of great games, a lot of games that mean something, a lot of games that got a little extra motivation to it, and I'm excited to dive into it. All right, before we dive into it, at first, quick reflect on week 1. I thought week 1 was a success in the league. I know I didn't really give much thoughts, but real quick, I thought we saw a great play. As I mentioned, in the pregame show, that season 4 was going to be the best season because of talent, experience, and what teams have been invested, and you can kind of see that. The kicking game was absolutely trash, but everything else was very good, and the parity is showing early. It's showing early. You look from the Vikings and Throners game where you thought that one was going to be a little bit of a blowout, and the Throners, they played well. They battled back. Hamburg, Prague, I thought that was going to be a high-scoring game. I thought Hamburg, could pull it out. I thought Prague had a chance, but, ultimately they stalled out. The Cologne Centurions making things interesting for a half of football before they ran into that buzzsaw in the second half, and the power run game from the Fire came into play. Week 1 was great, and we're seeing some new stars come to play, and I'm excited to see how it continues to play out heading into week 2. But, man, week 2, it's personal. It's getting deep. It's a lot's on the line here, all right? And as you can see, we have a lot of great games coming up. We're going to dive into the Base Coverage and First Out Magazine game of the week, which is I'll wait to show that. It's no surprise. The Stuttgart the Panthers is our game of the week. I know a lot of people think Fire Ryan, but when you look back on last week's performances, this got to be the game of the week, and we'll dive right into that. All right, but before we dive into that, let's check out how your boy did last week with picks. All right, I lost one game. Unfortunately, my Mercenaries couldn't finish the deal, gassed out a little bit towards the end. Barcelona, credit to them. That's a team that's resilient. That's a team that's tough. That's a team that's, you could tell they've been through some type of adversity when they went through camp, and it showed. They were the better team for 4 quarters, right? And that's ultimately what it's going to take to win games in this type of league. Is you need 4 quarters of hard work, 4 quarters of grit, and they showed that. Unfortunately, the Mercenaries could pull it out, but I basically aced all the other games. And it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. So we'll dive into our picks for week 2. I'll go over mine, and then we'll release more. But as I mentioned, we got some great games this week here in the European League of Football on week 2. And the game that I want to dive into first, which is the First Down Magazine game of the week, Base Coverage game of the week, is, this Stuttgart Surge versus the Wrocław Panthers of Poland. So this is both teams are coming off great week 1 games. When you look at the Surge, great defensive game. That defense looks ferocious. That defense looks different. The team looks different. The team looks hungry. The team looks fast. They played aggressive, and you can kind of see how that played out when they played Munich. Obviously, we're not gonna judge teams based off their week 1 performance. We want to see the portfolio throughout the season, how it plays out. But Munich's no slouch. They're projected to be a good team, and the performance from the Surge defense that they put on display was great. They're going up against a Wrocław Panthers team that, coming into the year, it was a team that I was excited about. I was more worried about their schedule than the type of team that they were. They are very balanced in multiple positions. And I thought they were going to be a good team. Steven Duncan, if you check out the ELF live show, was one of my top newcomer quarterbacks in the league, and he became player of the week. And he put on a great performance versus the Thunder this past weekend. AJ Wentland does AJ Wentland type of things, runs to the ball aggressively. He's always getting an interception or a fumble and find some type of way to impact the game at the linebacker position. This game is going to be great. It's going to be amazing. So much star power in this game. When you look at the matchup, the one thing that worries me about the Panthers, if they're going to try to win this game, is their secondary. The fact that they got to battle against that trio with Darnell Stewart, Louis Guy, and Yannick Mayer from the Surge, and Riley Hennessy toting the rock is going to be dangerous. It's really, to be honest, it's really a mismatch because either one of those guys could get off. You saw what the Surge did, and Darnell Stewart got hurt in the first quarter, right? But Louis Guy was able to take off, right, and perform well. So I have no doubt that A.J. Wentland and the front seven for the Panthers can compete and match up, at least in the run game. But that secondary is something that I'm going to be concerned about if the Panthers are going to try to win. Because if you let this game get to where it was with Berlin, it's not going to be high scoring. The Surge defense is not going to let the Panthers score that many points based on what I've saw. So we'll see how this pans out. For me, the difference maker in this game is the easy one. It's Andrea Botea Moreno. He has to be the difference maker in this game, not only from the tight end in the blocking capacity, but in the passing game as well. He's going to be able to find a lot of those mismatches, either going up against guys that are smaller with him or going up against guys that are faster than him. So if the Panthers want to have success on offense, Andrea Botea Moreno, one of the best tight ends in the league, has to have a great game. We'll see how it all pans out. Ultimately, for me, in this game, I'm rocking with the Stuttgart Surge to take the victory over the Rostov Panthers and continue what they've been trying to set out for. It looks like they're on a mission. They're playing like they're on a mission, and we're going to see how it all pans out. As I mentioned before, week 2, it's personal. It's personal for a lot of different reasons. It's personal for a lot of different games. And this next game that we're about to show, when you look at the slate, we're going to go down to the Austrian Derby. We're going to go down to the Raiders versus Vienna. At what point is enough enough? At what point are you going to stop losing to the same team over and over again? The Raiders have to find a way to beat the Vikings. Is D'Angelo Fulford the guy? Is he the guy to succeed Sean Shelton and the legacy he left behind, finally take out, the Vienna Vikings and, what they've been able to put together? Of course, they're ELF champions, but when is it going to be, when are you going to be tired of losing to your arch nemesis in the Vienna Vikings? So when you look at this matchup might be balanced all over positionally. Only thing that I think, especially when you look at the Raiders receivers, Vienna Vikings secondary matches up. We have 2 great quarterbacks in this game, Fulford and Ben VP, according to Alex Malchow, a guy who I'm pretty high on too, Ben Holmes. How are the Raiders going to start Kari Parzarin, the running back, right? How are the Vikings going to be able to contain D'Angelo in the pocket? And what are they going to do defensively? There's so many questions, when you look at this game, all right? The signing of Reese Horn, to me personally, no offense to Weston Carr, I haven't seen enough in the 3 seasons with the Vikings to consider him one of the top receivers, but Reese Horn is probably an upgrade. All right, and if he's going to get the attention, then that leaves Jordan Bull right open. And we can't forget Torre, who put on a great performance in his first ELF game versus the Enthroners. Like, there are a lot of stars in this game. There's bad blood in this game. It's always going to be that way with the Raiders and Vikings. I know some people in that organization are tired of hearing about the Raiders, what they did last year, how they're moving forward, new ownership. I know some people in there that are hearing the Ben MVP chants and are sick of it. So when is enough, right? You gotta take care of business, and you gotta take care of it this week. You need to set the tone this week. It's in Vienna. Set the tone in their home stadium. Let them know that you're back, you're ready to play, and this is a different Raiders team. Going against the Milan, I don't know if you can really judge the Raiders based on that matchup, but we got to find out who the Raiders are this weekend. It's a great matchup. I got to believe it until I see it, right? I got to see it to believe it, right? It's personal, like Dion said. So if Raiders want to make a statement, they'll make it this week. They'll make it in Vienna, but I'm rocking with Vienna to take on this matchup versus the Raiders to move on to 2-0 and continue the win streak against their rivals in the Raiders of T-Roll. Now, this next matchup might be one for the ages. Might be a new one that we're all gonna have to get used to, and you know which one I'm talking about. This is El Clasico. This is the ELF El Clasico. It's personal. It's personal. Listen, a lot of players from the Dragons left to go to the Bravos, right? It's personal. We already know the relationship between Madrid and Barcelona, not just in, American football, but in soccer and the whole country. Like, this game, not only is it a new rival in ELF, but it means everything to these two teams. Don't give me no cliches that it's just another game. It's a week 2 game. Like, no, this game's gonna mean a lot. I like what Barcelona did last week when they went up against Helvetic. They were a team that showed grit. They were a team that showed that they could battle. They were a team that showed resilience. And now they're going to be going up against the Madrid Bravos team, new ELF team. We don't know what they're made of. We don't know. We know they had a good all season. They did just release some interesting signings, interesting players. So I say like Kevin Fortes, that was an interesting one. So we'll see how this plays out. Right, it's definitely gonna catch a lot of people's eyes. One of the people you should keep an eye on is running back Dwayne Obi. I think this guy, not a lot of people are talking about him, has potential to be the best running back in the ELF this season if he has a good O-line protecting in front of him. And then the Dragons head coach. Listen, I got a lot of respect for Coach Shelton down in Barcelona. And you're not just going to hit me with the cliche that we're just focused on week 2. Nah, I know what this game's about. I know. I spoke with your son. Your son told me how he felt about this game in the last interview. And this game is personal. What's it going to come down to? It's going to come down to, one, how does Barcelona kind of already saw this matchup, right? They saw it last week versus Helvetic. They saw a great quarterback with a great skilled wide receiver, Anthony Brown. Well, now they're going to have to go up against William Patterson. They saw the only difference is that the Bravos have a stronger running attack, which is something that we're going to have to see how the Dragons defend. But offensively, I think they found a little bit of their rhythm last week. Levi did a good job at making plays. We had to make plays, scored 2 touchdowns. I think, Imani Donadeli is a dog. This guy, I'm excited to see that matchup he's going to have this weekend with some of the Bravos defensive backs. But this matchup is going to be a fun one. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm excited to see it. Can the new kids on the block make their statement against a rival? Dwayne Obi is going to be exciting. Dragons already saw the script. What's going to happen? Man, listen, I got to see it to believe it. I'm rocking with the Barcelona Dragons to take this one, all right, and pull off the win against their rivals. And like I said, it's personal. Guys left for a reason. There's been a lot of talk about the Dragons, and I'm sure they had this one circled, and they are going to be ready. And after what I saw last weekend, I think they're a team that, you can punch them, but they're going to punch right back, and they're going to battle you throughout. So kudos to the Dragons last week again to win. I think they're going to pull off a win against the Bravos this week as well. All right, the next matchup we have, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. Munich playing Milan. 2 teams looking to bounce back after a rough week 1 for both teams. Milan struggled to score against the Raiders. Quarterback Zach Brunkhurst was on record going on saying, he's just embarrassed about the performance. It wasn't a great performance. He really didn't have no protection. And one of my main concerns about Milan is that if you get them into a high-scoring matchup, I don't know if they'll be able to go toe-to-toe with you. Just to be honest, I don't know if they have the weapons. Losing Tommy Wilson was a big loss for them. Patrick Carr, I don't know how effective he's going to be behind that offensive line, but they're going to have to find their rhythm one way or another, be able to control the game one way or another. In Munich, man, I almost feel bad for them because I think Munich is out for blood. I think they were embarrassed. I think the offense only putting up 3 points in last week's game versus the Surge was an embarrassment. Offensive line been talked out all week. You know, a lot of people were questioning, is Munich for real or not? I think they're out to make a statement. I think this is a great game to bounce back from. But if you go into this game and you don't take care of business and you make it close, that noise is just going to get even louder for the Munich Ravens. I don't think that's going to happen. We shall see. I want to see Milan improve on offense. Defensively, you know, I think there's some potential there. Whenever you got Zachary Blair, he's always got to be able to rally the troops and gather the guys together. Marquise Manning and the boys. You know, there's going to be some potential. They still got to show up as well, but don't get it twisted. The pressure is on Munich this game because if you don't go out here and make a statement, it's gonna be over sooner rather than later. And I don't mean the game; I mean the season. So I think Munich goes to Milan and they take care of business in this game. All right, new Prague Lions versus the Berlin Thunder. I like Prague's makeup this year. I think they put up a great fight last week versus Hamburg. Daniel Wright, they got to figure out what they're going to do with him. I think he's a safety. I know Matt Bresington thinks he's. We both think he's a safety as well. So pairing him one-on-one versus Jarvis led to that 91 to the house touchdown. If you try to put this guy Daniel Wright against Aaron Jackson this weekend, you're going to get the same result. So you got to figure out how you're going to cover the Berlin Thunder's receiver. Daniel Wright is going to do most of his damage in the backfield. I think we're going to see a matchup between two great defensive ends in James Brooks and Kyle Kitchens. I think an angry Kyle Kitchens is out for blood this week. Listen. After last week, Kyle, I've spoken to Kyle. Kyle is on a mission this year, and we'll see what happens. They're in Berlin. Prague's going to the capital. We'll see how it pans out. I think Berlin takes this win. They find a way to get back on track. Prague, they also battle in a tough schedule, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game is like a 28-17 or like a 31-20, 24 type of game. We shall see, because Prague can score. They just got to do it sooner rather than later, and then keep the momentum going and keep things pushing. I think they found their stride second half last week versus the Hamburg Sea Devils. So we'll see how this pans out. But I'm rocking with the Berlin Thunder to beat the Prague Lions. This is the special one. One of the reasons why week 2 is so special is not just because it's personal, but we're getting the chance to see 3 new teams in action. The Frankfurt Galaxy, who we'll talk about here shortly, the Madrid Bravos, and the Paris Musketeers. A lot of people think Paris Musketeers are the second best team in the West, the brutal Western Conference. All right, battling to go against the Fire. And we're going to get a chance to see them today. We're going to get a chance to see them this week versus the Hamburg Sea Devils in their home opener. I think it's going to be about 13,000 fans there currently right now as it's counted. I'm excited to see Zach, this new improved Paris defense. I think their front seven is fast and physical, and they're going to try to get after the Sea Devils. Marcel Beard, this is year 1 as the guy. Defensive Player of the Year last year, number 1 corner right now on the Paris Musketeers. Does he go against Jarvis? I don't know. I mean, obviously they're familiar. They both played in the Central last year with the Guards and the Raiders. We'll see how this pans out. But I'm excited to see this Paris team. And I've been talking about this guy on this podcast on the ELF Live show. Wide receiver Austin Mitchell is so underrated right now. Nobody's talking to him. He has potential to go for 150 and two touchdowns. We shall see how all that pans out. I'm rocking with Paris to win this game, to go to Hamburg. I think they match up well. I think, overall this could be a good matchup. I think Austin Mitchell will have a good game. I think we're going to see MVP type seasons from Zach. At least that's my expectations. But we'll see. But I'm rocking with Paris to win this game. Here we go. This is a sneaky good matchup right here. We got the Enthroned versus the Cologne Centurions. I think this is a nice, evenly matchup, to be honest. We'll see how this pans out. Jack Mangle showed a lot last week. Nathaniel Robitaille showed that he still got some wheels. He still could do damage in the slot. It's going to be interesting to see if DeJohn Owens travels with him or plays man-to-man with him for most of the game. Connor Weddington from Cologne and Isaiah Weed, you see their connection. You see what they could do. We'll see how that fares out. I think Cologne takes this one. I think they try to take advantage of the run game with Allman in the backfield. You saw the success that they had against the Rhein Fire last week. I'm going to rock with the Centurions to take this one. All right. And then lastly, the Rhein Fire versus the Frankfurt Galaxy. The Frankfurt Galaxy have yet to beat the Rhein Fire. Some people think this is the game of the week. I still believe Surge Panthers is game of the week, but this is definitely going to be a good game because the Frankfurt Galaxy literally cleaned house and built a team to try and beat the Rhein Fire, starting from quarterback to personnel, the offensive and defensive coaches. Like, this team was made to beat the Rhein Fire. Now, will they do it? I don't know. They're coming off a bye week, so they do have a little bit of a rest advantage. Rhein Fire almost got slipped up. I think that game against the Centurions woke the Fire up. Maybe it was a little bit of a trap game as they were looking ahead towards this game, but we'll see. I think we're going to get a good sense of who the Fire really are this week. I don't think you can really judge them based off last week versus the Cologne Centurions. I think we're going to get a heavy dose of Glenn Tunga this week. It's been shown that Sebastian Gauthier is going to be out. It's Frankfurt's home opener. They're coming out with the Army Fatigue jerseys. We got Luke and Markel Castle being back together. It's first time since they were in Italy. You know, we got the return of Sandro Platzkummer. We'll see how healthy he is. We'll see if he's going to be back to full form and the type of impact he's going to have. I don't think he's one that needs to be running the ball about 20, 30 carries a game. But we'll see. But this game, don't get it twisted. This is Luke versus Jadrian. This is what Frankfurt has been waiting for since the season ended. They went out and gathered these players to beat the Rhein Fire. Will they do it? Man, I gotta see it to believe it. That's the theme this week. It's personal, but I gotta see it to believe it. I'm gonna rock with the Fire. I think it's gonna be a close one. I think Frankfurt does have the team to pair up and beat the Fire eventually. But I don't think it's gonna be this game right here. So I'm rocking with the Rhein Fire. So if you want to review my picks, I'm rocking with the Stuttgart Surge to beat the Panthers, the Barcelona Dragons to beat the Madrid Bravos, Vienna up against the Raiders, Munich versus the Surge, Berlin over the Lions, Paris versus Sea Devils, Cologne versus Enthroners, Fire versus Galaxy. It's personal. It's personal. And that's the theme of the week. So we'll see how everything pans out. But thank you all for tuning in. Again, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, like, share this with a friend. I appreciate everyone's support thus far, and we'll keep this thing going. But week 2, it's personal, baby. It's personal.